Hey, fourth grade, it is time for Read Aloud. We were in the middle of the Aurora County All-Stars by Deborah Wiles. The last chapter we read together as a class was chapter 9. But before I start, gotta pick sticks. Liz. Sweet. Oh. Who's next? Liz again. Yay! Who else we got? Oh, Liz again. It's my lucky day. Man, this whole doing read aloud from home thing is great. And last one. Surprise, surprise. It's Liz. All the pillows for me. Okay, let's get started. So, chapter 10. This chapter starts off with a quote by Honest Wagner, the shortstop of the Pittsburgh Pirates. I don't make speeches. I just let my bat speak for me in the summertime. Clebo, House, Honey, and Eudora Welty walked down the middle of the dirt road, a road that traveled the almost mile from Hallelujah to Mabel. Mabel was a crossroads dotted with farms, scattered with homes, and blessed with two large churches that faced each other across a dirt road, and a country middle school that boasted a brand new woodworking shop and greenhouse. The sun beat down on the travelers like a hot gold hammer. I ain't never seen you like that, House, said Clebo. Like what? Standing up to Francis. What do you mean? I mean, I never saw you do that before. Do what? Approach your problems. You never approach your problems, House. You don't talk about them. You talk enough for the both of us, House interrupted, but Clebo bulldozed on. And that's what gets folks in trouble. They don't approach their problems. Where did you learn to talk like that? Your problem is you've been watching that soap opera at the laundry. I can't help that. It's on when I'm there for lunch. I'm telling you, House, sometimes things need approaching. I approach the plate. That's enough. But he had approached his problem, and he knew it. He had survived it, too. Clebo punched his fist into his catcher's mitt for effect. You moused around all last summer after you got your elbow broke. I would have gone after Francis right then and there. He shoved his hands into his pockets and slouched toward home. You should have blasted Francis just now, House. She deserves it. House worked his elbow. I think the arm's fine, was all he said. He tossed his baseball in the air and caught it. Clebo kicked a rock in front of him. So you can play ball in the afternoons now, House? What gives? Nothing gives, Clebo hooted. All year long, the whole team showed up to play ball after school, and you said you couldn't come. School got out, and still you only showed up in the evenings. Now you can come anytime? I'm your best friend, and you ain't gonna tell me why? Nope. I don't know about you, House. We've had to do without you, with no good explanation. I've been mighty forgiving about it. My arm was broke half the time. It's not broke now. Well, here I am, House shouted. Let's play. It felt good to yell. Clebo yelled too. We ain't gonna have a game if we don't figure out this pageant problem. Well, I don't have answers right now, Clebo. Why do I have to figure out all the answers? Because you're team captain. It's your team. You put it together in the first place. House sidestepped Eudora Welty, who was wobbling her back and forth gait. Hey, said Honey, be careful. Where'd your dog come from? Asked Clebo. Found her in the bushes, said House. I love her, chirped Honey, who was struggling to keep up. Her name is you, doggy. Eudora, said House. That's what I said, said Honey. You doggy. Clebo and House rounded a curve in the road. Look at here, burst Clebo. The gates to Mr. Norwood Boyd's house were open. Wow, breathed Clebo, staring at the crumbling house beyond the gates. It's Mean Man's house. Yeah. House spoke in his most non-committal voice. He shoved his hands in his pockets. There was his note, still rolled into a small, crunched scroll. Clebo squinted at House. You knew Baby Eater Boyd. What are you talking about? House looked behind him for honey. You knew him, said Clebo. I can tell. House shook his head. Nah. Yeah, you did, said Clebo. It got to you, all that talk about him dying and who he was. You know what, Clebo? You talk too much. I wish you'd catch as good as you talk. What are you talking about? I'm a good catcher. At that moment, Honey and Eudora caught up to the boys. Eudora Welty stopped short, sniffed the air, and then ran straight through the open gate to Norwood Boyd's house and disappeared. You doggy! Screamed Honey. Eudora! House sprinted after the dog with Clebo on his heels. Don't go in there, House! Screamed Honey. House and Clebo screeched to a halt at the gate. Eudora! House called. The dog was gone. Let me get her, Honey. No, there's ghosts in there, cried Honey. She pulled on her brother's shirt as hard as she could. There's no such thing, said House. That's just a story. No! Honey began to cry. She leaned forward and wailed for Eudora. You doggy! Clebo hissed. I see where that dog comes from, and I know you know something. You can tell me. What did you do to him? Did you find the treasure? You're crazy, Clebo. House wrapped his arms around Honey, who was hollering herself blue for Eudora. She's in there with the ghosts. Ghosts can't see dogs, said House, and there ain't no ghosts. Then why don't you go in and get her? Clebo spit into the mountain of kudzu by the gate. You go, said House. He stood and glowered at Clebo. Go on. You know so all-fired much about ghosts and treasure. Clebo eyeballed the decaying old house and took a step through the driveway gates. Honey screeched. She wrapped her arms around herself like a mummy and held her breath. Clebo stepped back. You're not as brave as you thought you were, said House, and there ain't no treasure. Clebo jabbed his finger at House. You know something. House spit. I know I'm going home. You doggy! Honey wailed. She'll be at home waiting for us, Honey. Let's go. Clebo took off his baseball cap and wiped his forehead with his sweaty t-shirt. You really going to be at practice this afternoon? Or are you going to be busy? Let's you and me part company, Clebo. You can get your bike and go home. What about lunch? I bet your daddy's fixing 4 or maybe 5 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches right now. I don't want company. House took Honey's hand. She made a miserable sound through her tears. What am I supposed to do for lunch? I don't care what you do. Go eat with the mamas at the Sunshine Laundry and watch Dr. Dan on the television. Go get starched, Clebo. Fine, cried Clebo. I don't care if you show up for practice or not. Yes, you do. House let go of Honey's hand. She collapsed like a sad little balloon that was all out of air. House took an angry step toward Clebo. The inside of his nose stung with tears. Watch me approach my problems, Clebo. You tell me every day how I let the team down last year. What kind of a friend does that? I'm the one that's been forgiving. A broke elbow is a broke elbow. Clebo blinked. Well, you should have watched where you were going. House crammed his ball and glove into his armpit. It wasn't my fault, Clebe, he said in an even voice. You know what, House? Clebo took one last look at the gloom that was Norwood Boyd's house. Eating at the laundry's better than eating with you any day. He stalked back toward town, throwing a shout over his shoulder. "I'll get my bike later. Don't you touch it." House picked up Honey, who sobbed into her brother's neck. "It'll be all right, honey." But it would not be all right. House was wrong. He was wrong about Eudora, wrong about the treasure, wrong about everything. That is the end of chapter 10. In 4th grade, usually when we're at school, we do questions at the end. Since I'm reading alone right now in my living room, I'll ask a few questions that might get you thinking about what's coming next. That last chapter ended with, "But it would not be all right. House was wrong. He was wrong about Eudora, wrong about the treasure, wrong about everything." I have a lot of questions when I read the end of this chapter. How was he wrong about Eudora? What does that mean? Is Eudora not going to come home to his house like he told Honey she would? Maybe there's something else with Eudora. Wrong about the treasure? Wonder what that means. Is there a treasure? Is there not a treasure? Wrong about everything. What does that mean? This kind of an ending is quite a cliffhanger. The author leaves us with a lot of questions at the end of this chapter. Another question I have is, what's going to happen with Clebo and House? They have never had an argument like this so far in the book. We're on page 68, and we've still got about 120 more pages to go. But this seems like a fight. Like, it seems like they're having some conflict. And I'm wondering if they're going to be able to work through this, or if this is going to be kind of a big deal for their friendship. I want you to think about that question. What do you think is going to happen with Clebo and House in the coming chapters? So yeah, we will keep pondering these questions as we get ready for the next chapter. But for now, we're done for the day. See you next time, 4th grade.